So apparently MMA and UFC have this huge right-wing problem. The owners, the supporters, the fighters themselves have an unhealthy obsession with right-wing politics, apparently. KSI has waded in on this on his recent appearance on the What's Good podcast. We'll have a little look at that. We'll have a little look at the right-wing problem in general within the UFC, the likes of Sean Strickland, the likes of Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal, how disgusting and depraved these fighters are. We'll also have a look at some chick who had an absolute meltdown when she went to watch UFC at a local bar. That's a funny one. Before we get into that, if you can hit like, subscribe and share, I'd really appreciate that. Cheers. KSI, he's the dude with the old mongoed head and the big eyes and the stupid laugh. He can't fight and he's like a millionaire who influences our kids and pumps them with this like weird toxic drink called Prime. He appeared on this podcast and it was very interesting. The topic of who gets the biggest bump in the arena when their face shows up on screen. Is it Conor McGregor? No, it's actually Donald Trump. Let's have a little listen.
Name, you know it felt like that. Like Trump starts walking out, and the crowd were going crazy before we saw who it was. I'm like, "Who's this? Who's this?" I'm like, "What the fuck?"
I thought it was like Conor McGregor or something like that, bro.
And again, I do not like Trump. It was the most badass thing I've ever seen in my life.
It was nuts, and it makes you think, "Oh, he's gonna come back into." He's going to be the president.
Well, yeah, not to get too political, but I think he's won over so many people there. Because all the right wing people, there's so many right wing in America, you know, they love all this.
It's because of Dana White. Him and Dana White are best friends.
Yeah.
So I think that's why, like, he is like seen as a god in the UFC.
Yeah. Crazy. But I don't see him as a god at all. He's just a man to me. I'm not a fan of Donald Trump.
Okay,
I promise.
What a really strange and awkward interaction. We have this podcast, it has over 1 million subscribers. We have the fat lad there who's presenting it with the ponytail. He's terrified in case any of his subscribers thinks that he likes Donald Trump. KSI is kind of the same, but it's kind of hard to understand where he's coming from because he's so badly able to speak. He tried to allude to the fact that Donald Trump was going to make it back into the White House, back into power, that the Republican frontrunner is going to win the upcoming election and get the nod and be the next president of America. And he just kind of fumbled over it like for 5 or 10 minutes there, like, you know what I mean? And the fat fella had to interject and be like, but just so as everyone know, I don't like Trump. So they're talking about the big bump when he walks into an arena.
Also making his way to the octagon, the 45th president of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump, flanked by UFC CEO Dana White.
And he goes on to say that, you know, a lot of the right-wing people who follow the sport of UFC love Donald Trump. They put him in this godlike status. I guess one of the producers of the show kind of interjects and says that, you know, Donald Trump is very good friends with Dana White. That's why a lot of the UFC fans kind of follow suit and actually cheer so loud from him. It's a bit of both, to be honest with you. A lot of the people that will go and watch combat sports are going to be working class people. And they're going to understand that under Trump, whether you liked him or hated him, you had more money in your paycheck. It was as simple as that. Billions and billions of dollars weren't being sent to Ukraine and to Israel to fund these foreign wars that have nothing got to do with the US. Forget about your radical egalitarianism in terms of we have to get involved and help people. Help your own people first. That's what they say when there's a ship sinking, right? Look after the women and children first. Look after your family first. And then start worrying about everybody else. United States of America and most Western countries that are under the regime of liberal democracy for the last 70 or 80 years have fallen into this place of egalitarianism where we have to look after everybody else before ourselves. And if you actually care about your own people or the people that you can actually directly affect with that sort of money, then you're some sort of fascist. The fat lad with the ponytail doesn't want to be connected to any idea of nationalism or patriotism. Not at all. He wants to talk about saving everybody else. And that way then he keeps his subscribers and he doesn't get cancelled. And then they jump off the topic immediately because we don't want to get too political. So then we go on and we talk about Aiden Ross, and KSI says that if I see him, it's on sight. I'm just going to walk up to him and slap him in the face. I can't imagine KSI walking up slapping anybody. And I can't imagine that other kid who's extremely annoying and pathetic. I saw the video footage of him and Sean O'Malley. It's just like sad, man. It's just sad. We had the Sneeko and Sean Strickland stuff happen. That went viral. People made content out of it. Sneeko got busted. He's a grifter. Sneeko's a grifter. Right? As simple as that. This other guy, Aiden Ross, I wouldn't even call him a grifter because he's so pathetic. He's so pathetic, like sniffing the chair of Andrew Tate? What was that? He gets into the octagon and looks like the biggest fruity retard that you've ever seen in your life, falling around like a 6-year-old girl would have done better inside there with that skinny toothpick. Then he goes outside and I'm guessing he spends hundreds of thousands of dollars giving a car to this fucking idiot. And how does Sean O'Malley repay him?
Hurry up, you stupid fucking you. Hurry up, you stupid fucking you.
He has a little quick jibe under his breath. That's how the most recent KSI podcast went. Nothing burger of sorts, but it does open an interesting question in terms of this fat lad with the ponytail talking about right-wing politics interjecting into UFC, and the fans of the UFC put Donald Trump in a position of being a god because of Dana White. Dude, you're completely deluded. You have fallen victim of mainstream media. You turn on a news station in Britain, in Ireland, in the US, you are going to see story after story of how vile Donald Trump is. You don't see anything about Joe the Sniffer over there and all the kids that he likes hanging out with and the kids that have written books about what he has done to them, allegedly. You don't hear any of that stuff. And if you do, you just breeze past it because you know what? If I actually talk about Biden or progressivism or liberal democracy, people will actually start unsubscribing. And I can't talk about Donald Trump because they'll unsubscribe as well. So I gotta stay course in the middle of the road here like a good useful slave and be fat and have a ponytail. And I'll get 1 million subscribers and be a millionaire and I'm an influencer. That's the world that we live in today. So that brings me over here to a little article that I found. February the 9th. How Dana White's combat sports helps expose young people to right-wing views. Liberals should be aware how the president of the Ultimate Fighting Championship is using his platform to promote conservatism to millions of young men. Wow. So every other sport in the world where we have to endure people kneeling down for Black Lives Matter terrorism, where we have to endure our favorite sports stars forced to wear LGBTQ.ie armbands, and if they don't, they're literally cancelled and removed from the roster. We have to endure every facet of sport promoting wars in Ukraine and other Middle Eastern countries. That's fine. That's not forcing people to have a progressive mindset or a liberal mindset at all. That's perfectly fine. But we have to be aware of Dana White going after our kids, after our young men, and forcing them to be conservative. I think that the current regime that we all live under does a great job of pushing people to more conservative views. That's what I think. There's a full video here from the extreme far left platform Media Matters. They do a hit piece on Dana White, on his power slap, and how he has migrated it over to Rumble because Rumble isn't censored, and how that is terrible for the world and for young men and people that actually want to live a life of freedom, apparently.
But what exactly is Rumble? To put it simply, Rumble is a right-wing YouTube knockoff.
A video platform celebrating freedom, creative independence, immunity to cancel culture.
The platform was founded in 2013 by Canadian tech entrepreneur Chris Pavlovsky.
I love the way they interject this sinister music when they talk about when Rumble was launched. And the couple of lads that they showed there, Dan Bongino, Russell Brand, a far-right conspiracy theorist YouTube knockoff, and they hate the fact that Dana White has gone over there with his power slap.
Popular right-wing figures and talking heads quickly flocked over to the platform.
The left has been hijacked. The Pride movement has been hijacked by pedophiles.
Viewership skyrocketed as the right-wing media found a home for its conspiracy theories and its malicious brainworms.
Oh yeah, I don't think women should vote.
They want you to hate yourself. They want you to hate your country, especially if you're white.
It's actually funny. They kind of debunked themselves because the video only has something like 24,000 and it's supposed to be this huge hit piece on Rumble and Dana White and conservatism in general and free speech, I guess. And the examples that they use are pathetic. They talk about the pandemic. They talk about the election. They talk about people being taught to hate themselves and anti-white rhetoric. Every single one of them are completely overt to any person with a critical eye. They can see that that's exactly what's happening in the world right now. And you're using that as some sort of weird conspiracy theory. It ain't that. It was never that. And you're just exposing yourself because people can see through the lies now because of platforms like Rumble that allow people freedom of speech. You remember that?
Rumble knows that kids and Gen Z are huge fans of UFC and fighting sports, but they're distractions with a purpose: to lure a new generation of viewers to a world of extreme and dangerous content. content that they never would have sought out on their own.
And content that they would never have sought out on their own. So we're not going to talk about TikTok and how that is the scourge of society, where it pretty much only teaches young people how to enjoy and promote and perform pornography, where there's a constant push for young people to chop off their body parts and turn into different human beings and fill the heads with complete and utter mental illness. All that's fine. That's not sinister. That's not trying to lure our kids anywhere. Rumble, Power Slap, and Russell Brand and Dana White is cool. I want to show you this progressive liberal nut job who got invited to an event where she could hang out. I guess she's gay or something, and she gets to hang out with some friends, and what happens next disgusts her to the point where she has to leave, abscond, run out of the bar, jump into an Uber, which is gay anyway, and ditch her friends. What do you think it was that pushed her over the edge and sent her on her way? Was it Joe Biden trying to speak to the nation but continuously fumbling? Or was it him sniffing young children's hair and seeing them physically distressed at the fact that this 80-year-old dude is pretty much licking and sniffing their neck and their hair and stuff like that? Would you say it was that made her bounce out of the bar and away from all her wokey friends?
She invited me to a UFC fight, to watch a UFC fight at a sports bar. You don't you don't need to know much about me to know that's not really my scene. No, it's not. But are we desperate? Yes. I start thinking, you know what? Hemingway liked to fight. Maybe some of these people are also really into classic literature.
Okay, so she's going down the route that because she's a progressive liberal, that she's somehow more superior in terms of intellect to people that like to watch UFC. She starts talking about Hemingway and literature, and all I'm thinking is, imagine busting her nose wide open with an elbow. That's what I was thinking. Right?
That was really sweet of me. That was really sweet
Thanks.
of me to think. But basically it looked like a frat party. Duh. Which is, again, fine. I'm there to chat with the girlies. Conversations were leaning conservative.
Oh no. Oh no.
About vaccines and
how retarded they were. How there's people dropping dead at monumental levels across the world, and nobody can make a correlation between the fact that you've had 68 boosters and now you've got 97 blood clots and you're in a coma. Cool.
then, you know, Donald Trump shows up on the TV, like he goes to the UFC fight, and the entire sports bar erupts into chanting USA.
Look at the eyes, look at the evil satanic eyes. She's going home and she's gonna like consume a big ball of transgender gay shit from TikTok. Perfectly normal. Power Slap, on the other hand, sinister and luring children. Look at this nut job. They start chanting USA and they're in America, in an American bar. They're being patriotic about their homeland. Dodge. Get out of there quick.
USA. First of all, am now floating above my body, watching from above, going, how did this happen? Trying to stay calm, trying to act normal. The sweet girl next to me goes, what can I say? I love the guy.
Again, huge elbow, crack, boom, screams, splattered.
I called an Uber almost immediately. I almost started crying in the bar. Got right in an Uber and I scurried away.
This is the best reaction to the UFC being a problem in terms of a right-wing company. This is the best reaction for disgusting rats like this. If only we could get all of them to jump in a fucking gay Uber and scurry away. Wouldn't the world be a better place? Let me know your thoughts down below. Hit like, subscribe and share. Cheers.